Bill Hooser. The bagpipes are playing and the cortege is approaching the gravesite. Let's listen in. Hundreds of police officers from around the state and around the country, and indeed from overseas as well, have come to honor the life of fallen Police Sergeant Bill Hooser. The family is taking its place on the front row. His widow Kendra and their children, sons-in-law, as police and emergency personnel move forward toward the ceremony. We've seen officers from near and far. The New York Police Department is represented here today. The Teton County Sheriff, deputies are here, and naturally from all over Utah, but it is a sea of law enforcement as they have come to honor the man who walked a thin blue line with them. Fellow officers from the Santa Quin Police Department are lined up in front of the casket. as everyone moves into place. Joining me now is Draper Police Lieutenant Pat Evans, who is president of the
Utah Law Enforcement Memorial and Concerns of Police Survivors, Utah chapter.
Your thoughts as we observe this very solemn occasion.
It's a very important tribute to this family and to this community. I just hope the family feels this love, the law enforcement community as well as the community of Santaquin as well, because they're surrounded by folks that support them and love them.
Members of the Utah Highway Patrol troopers will be dressing the flag, and they will present that to Sergeant Hooser's widow. A moment of silence.
We ask thee to let thy spirit be felt by Bill's family, and that they will feel your love and know that Bill is okay. Father, at this time, we ask these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
The family prayer, dedication of the grave. Three-round volley. Not a 21 gun salute, and now taps.
Central. 1484 Central. 1484 Sergeant Mills Hooser. We thank you for your dedication and service to the citizens of Sanderson City, Utah County, and the state of Utah, the United States of America. Your life of service and your ultimate sacrifice will never be forgotten. End of watch, May 5th, 2024. 1484, 1042, at 06, 35 hours.
From the west, coming a missing man formation of helicopters. A final salute to Santaquin Police Sergeant Bill Hooser. Placing of the gloves on the casket.
Yeah, it's a ceremonial thing. If you're part of the department or part of the honor guard, that you would place your gloves as kind of a last respect on the casket.
Draper Police Lieutenant Pat Evans joining us here. Your work with the fallen officers and their families in this state, we can't thank you enough for that. What can they expect in the coming days and weeks?
The family has about a year of ceremonies. There'll be different ceremonies like the DPS's awards banquet, different things where Sergeant Hooser's ultimate sacrifice will be honored. Next year, next May, at the state capitol West Lawn, Sergeant Hooser's name will be added to the Utah Law Enforcement Memorial. And as well, next May in Washington, D.C., Sergeant Hooser's name will be added to the National Wall and honored back there through a candlelight vigil. So they've got a lot of things coming up. Luckily, they have a great department led by a great chief, and they'll make sure the family's there and that Sergeant Hooser is honored. And no doubt about it, from just driving through Santaquin over the last week and today, this community is going to be there to support this family, but also support our law enforcement family here.
One of the things that, and you and I have been talking all through the day about this occasion and what it means. And this is not your first. You've been to many of these. As you reflect on how the community here in Utah and elsewhere around the country as well, but here in Utah, as we honor the life of a fallen officer, why is it that there is such an outpouring of love and affection for them?
I think if you look at Utah as a whole, it's a giving community. It's a caring community. I think we're very lucky that we live in this community because they really do care. And when tragedy strikes, they're there. They come out in numbers. But again, we live in a state where they support law enforcement. There's no doubt in my mind, or no doubt in anybody here's mind, that law enforcement is supported by the majority of Utahns.
We're watching the officers who worked with Sergeant Hooser one by one. Each one of them, to a person, speaks about how they love him and how much respect they have for him. And this as a final tribute to him, removing their gloves and leaving mementos on the casket. The love that officers have for their sergeant, particularly their patrol sergeant, is unique.
Yeah. And, this kind of tragedy strikes hard no matter what size department, but I can't even imagine in a small department where everybody really does know each other. They know their families. They work alongside this guy every day. Yeah. Yeah.
This tragedy is close to your heart, too, because you've lost a dear friend who served along with you in Draper.
I did, and just like Sergeant Johnson, people in our profession, in our law enforcement community, we're going to make sure that Sergeant Hooser is never forgotten, just like we've never forgot about Derek. And I think it's so important just to remember that, life. I don't say move on. I say life moves forward. And as you move forward, you have when people in these situations, they have a new book to write, a new chapter, however you want to write it. But it's important that people don't forget and people keep Sergeant Hooser's family and his memory alive, his sacrifice.
A large part of his legacy on the police force is how he was so by the book. And you could tell just from his portrait, his police portrait, that he was by the book sergeant.
Yeah, I see that, but I also saw a glow, and you can see his smile, and those people that are by the book oftentimes are also the biggest they emulate the most love because they do care about you and they care about your success and your future.
They've got a vision of the value of the book.
They do. They do.
The last Santaquin police officer to approach the casket now and remove his gloves, leave a memento. As we were saying before, this really has become sacred ground. And not just the family, but members of the community and members of this police department here in Santaquin will come to this place, hallowed now by the presence of Sergeant Hooser's earthly remains. It's almost an inspiring shrine.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of people that come here, some in the darkness, some in the daylight, but it will be a place to remember a great man and a great legacy.
Earlier this month, Lieutenant, you were up at the state capitol for the memorial wall and the adding of 2 names up there. And as I recall, that was on May 3rd, or was it May 2nd? Yeah, May 2nd. And nobody knew at that time that another name was going to need to be added to that wall.
No, in fact, we celebrated that the 2 names we were adding were historical, and they finally received the honor that they deserve, but nobody knew that a few days later we'd be planning for a new name next year.
Well, as the police linger and as the family and friends and this community lingers here at the cemetery, and a final salute from the Department of Public Safety. This is a heart-wrenching, heartbreaking time, but at the same time, this outpouring of love and support for those who walk that thin blue line is inspiring to see. It is tragic that an occasion like this is what brings that out. Perhaps when you see an officer of the law doing his job, doing her job, you can reach out and say thank you. It means a lot, doesn't it, Lieutenant?
It means a lot, yes. We like those positive interactions. We like to, I shouldn't say me, when you watch officers in your force, they do appreciate those hellos and thank yous, and just that split second that you take to say thanks, it goes a long way. So,
the family now greeting others, and as we wrap up the ceremonies here at the Santaquin Cemetery, the family approaching the casket and leaving their mementos and flowers, accompanied by the Chief of Police. A very somber, very sacred time here at the cemetery in Santaquin. It has been a heartbreaking day, a heartbreaking week, and yet, as we were just talking with Lieutenant Evans from the Draper Police Department, there is a great outpouring of love and gratitude and appreciation. And so we will leave you on that note, one of gratitude for the men and women who walk that thin blue line. Fox 13 News will continue to cover the ceremonies honoring the life of now fallen Santaquin Sergeant Bill Hooser. Join us for Fox 13 News Live at 4, Fox 13 News Live at 5, and a complete wrap-up of this sacred day on Fox 13 News at 9. Reporting live from the Santa Quin City Cemetery, I'm Bob Evans.